All right. Hi, my name is Marcia Bent. I'm from Think Premium. And today's entrepreneurship tidbit is really on building connections. So, with building connections, this is actually where a lot of entrepreneurs go wrong from a sales standpoint, is that it's more than just trying to close a transaction. Relationships live and die one conversation at a time. Conversations literally equal relationships. And I understand, especially when the bills are due. Your car doesn't run on goodwill and sunshine. You need to actually make money. I get it, right? And I understand that life happens and opportunity and things, things don't go as planned with your plans. But at the same time, a little empathy goes a very long way. And that's really where a lot of persons go wrong, just not showing empathy, whether it's dealing with a disgruntled client or dealing with a client that has had some recent change in their company, or just some client that's just going through life. Like, instead of looking on how it affects you and you alone and how it affects your transaction, and you'll be surprised many persons do this, actually try and stop and think about the other person. Just stop. Just listen, appreciate where the other person's coming from, appreciate the other person's challenges, show genuine concern for what they're experiencing. And you'll be surprised where that takes the conversation, because at the end of the day, people are human before they're anything else. And a little transparency and a little empathy goes a long way. Don't just say sorry because it's something that you're supposed to say when somebody's mom dies or whatever. Actually mean it. Actually show genuine concern. Actually ask them how they're doing, how you can help them. And don't just be quick to just quickly go highlight your experience. Okay, fine. Your mom died too. Great. In that moment, though, unless it's asked or unless you see where there's an opportunity to really share that, you don't have to say it. You don't have to try and one up the person with your own experience. Nobody likes that. Frankly, it's just, it seems mean. Like, it's not a competition. Like, my grief is not a competition. Like, hello. Just nobody likes that. That's not cool. Or me having a bad experience with some life event is not a means for you to try and one up me. Like, that's ridiculous. Never do that. Instead, just be genuine. And if an opportunity comes up where you can add value through some insight that you had gained from your experience or a similar experience, you can mention it in that way. Another thing that you want to do as well in building connections is just trying to understand what their needs are by asking probing questions. Did you know that 67% of the time when someone shares an objection to a sales approach, what they share the first time is not the real objection? It's actually lying underneath that. Or if they tell you that their reason for going to XYZ event or doing a particular action is not usually the real reason. For instance, I'm wearing a shade of lipstick because it makes me feel good and it makes me look attractive. Not necessarily because I just love the color, which I do love the color red, but that's my point. You need to get deeper. Don't be afraid to ask probing questions. There's nothing wrong with learning more so you can better assist someone. And as a matter of fact, that is important because relationships start with attraction and they're built through connections, and connections happen through conversations. So if you can continuously ask probing questions that allow you to strengthen a relationship and uncover the real reason why persons do things, you're in a much better position to hopefully secure a lasting relationship with that person. And at the end of the day, you might find this strange, but not many persons understand how to connect with people outside of social media. And in a digital era where a lot of things happen, a lot of things go down in DM, a lot of purchasing decisions, frankly, start on social media. Many persons still don't understand that life off screen is just as important. So if what you portray on social media, let's say you being very helpful, very responsive, very knowledgeable, doesn't match up to the service that people actually get when they meet with you, they're gonna talk about it. If you seem really friendly on social media, yet when every time someone sees you in person, you're having a bad day, which happens to everybody. I'm not perfect. It happens to me too. You know, hey, people pay attention to that and it can go against you. So it's not just the conversations that you have directly with people that are important, it's the nonverbal conversations or the nonverbal things that you're communicating that can really make or break you. And I'm gaining all of this from a book called Fierce Conversations. I literally just finished it. I think I have a copy beside me. I'm gonna pull it up, but it's a really powerful book. And in the book Fierce Conversations, man, that author really went in depth. Another thing that people don't realize is that since people tend to have a little challenge with not knowing how to connect with people outside of social media, they only know how to give pleasant greetings, like it's just pleasantries and platitudes. And I'm super guilty of this as well. I mean, one of the things that I had to learn to work through, you know, as being an introvert and trying to network more, especially this year, and build connections and grow my network is just learning to ask probing questions, being a good listener, and just being a human being and being in the moment. It's so hard for a lot of people. And I'm guilty of that. I mean, a lot of the times I'm very tempted to try and do two things at once. It's because it's something that I've had to do for so long, to be in an environment where I don't have to do that, or I'm not rushing to do something else. It's hard. And, you know, that coming from that point of survival, being in survival mode, I know it's challenging for a lot of people, especially business owners who've had to grow their businesses, you know, pretty much by themselves. And that's how it often starts as an entrepreneur. You kind of lose the ability to make small talk, depending on your personality. Some people are experts at it. Some people are like literal social butterflies. Other persons need a little bit more help. And there's nothing wrong with that. But a great place to start is just learning to be in the moment. If it's even to try and take notes, if it's even to listen, if it's even to try and act while you're doing, I know it's hard. I know it is, but at least try. Because at the end of the day, while it's something that is limiting, it can be worked around. It might be something that you're being mocked for right now, but it can be worked around. But you need to learn how to be vulnerable and you need to learn how to be in the moment. Because at the end of the day, relationships start a conversation at the time. If I'm trying to have a conversation with you about a work-related matter or something in relation to your business, and I'm serving you as a supplier, and every time I talk to you, I see that your phone rings and you stop and you leave my conversation, you never come back, you're telling me that you don't value my time. You're telling me that my information I'm sharing with you, even though it could be really useful for your business, is not important. And I mean, I don't know about you, but many persons find that disrespectful. I find that disrespectful. And nobody likes that. So people do pay attention to that. If you're trying to share an idea, you're being told that, hey, this isn't something that I have the bandwidth to do it, and you're not setting a time to get back to it. You keep doing that with a customer, you keep doing that with a supplier, you keep doing that with your team members. After a while, people are going to distance themselves from you. And the more you keep doing that, fine, nobody can hurt you, but at the same time, nobody will get close to you to help you. And relationships are what make people buy things. Relationships are what make people want to do things. Relationships are what make people want to support you and advocate for you and share your products and services with their friends, so you can in turn get business, you can in turn grow. People pay attention to that. So don't forget even that simple act as taking the time out to listen to someone's feedback is important. That little bit of empathy does make a difference. And at the end of the day, conversations plus empathy, followed by a little bit of intimacy, some familiarities, some familiar ideas, whatever you want to call it, those create lasting connections. And those connections could be the difference between you making $1 million extra this year and you probably losing 3 million because clients just don't want to do business with you anymore, or you're not able to get certain discounts from suppliers that could really help you at a time where, you know, the economy might not be too great where you are. And those the discounts, those extra loop, those little extra benefits, little extra incentive could have made a difference. So that's something that you want to do. And you also need to remember that a careful conversation is a failed conversation. If you keep tiptoeing around something that really needs to be said, you're doing yourself and that person a disservice, because what you really want to talk about never gets talked about. Or if it does get talked about, it gets talked about in a blow up. When, I don't know about you, but if you ever seen any form of volcanic eruption, that's not a fun place to be in. There's nothing but casualties there. So even if a conversation is started through that, the collateral damage that's caused by that blow up almost negates the amount of positive opportunities that could have derived from that conversation. So you want to have open, frank conversations without being combative. You don't have to be nasty. You don't have to tear anybody down, but you need to tell the truth. If it's even that you need to write it down and have a game plan going into the conversation, you need to have that. And don't be afraid to have conversations with yourself. One of the things that I've had to do is just understand that, hey, I might not be the best at networking, and that's okay. But by having that conversation, it allowed me to improve. I had to have fierce conversations with myself to learn that, hey, some relationships that I was in, whether professionally or personally or otherwise, just weren't working. My attitude towards time just wasn't working. And, you know, that really helped me. So I could in turn be able to help more people. And you have to learn to do the same for yourself. And you have to understand as well that nobody likes to be spoken to. They like to be talked with. Nobody likes to be sold to. They need to be, what's the word that I'm looking for? They need to be supported in. So, and this is something that I've had to learn as well. So even my approaches that I might do with persons directly, let's say I have a WhatsApp contact, I'm going to share information about my products or service. Trust me, if you're in my contacts, I'm sorry for you. At some point in time, you're going to get something about my products or services. But at the same time, I'd want to start it with something useful for you. Something that you probably never thought about. It was even to share it in my stories. I might not be able to share it with you directly every time, but I might share it in my stories. I might occasionally share an article that you like because I'm always consuming content. And you want to do that. Fine, you won't catch everybody, and that is okay. But at the end of the day, you want to at least make the effort, because people do business with people that they like, know, and trust. If you're not making yourself look trustworthy, then why would they want to do business with you? You can't say that you're a real estate agent and nobody don't know say you're a real estate agent. You never one day in your life put up nothing on WhatsApp about no property, so people know say you're a real estate agent. You can't say that you're a mortgage officer and nobody don't even know about the fact that you offer mortgages. You can't say you sell cars and nobody has ever seen you at any point in time do a tour of the cars that you have going on for sale at your car mart. It makes no sense. And at the end of the day, in building connections as well, there's a level of credibility that is important. If I see that Joe Smith is a good person, and I know that every time I go to Joe Smith, he will take care of me, and every time I needed Joe Smith in the past, he was always there to support me, then if Joe Smith asked me to promote his event on the whatever date it is, I'm going to share it on my stories at least, or I'm going to share it with anybody that I know, because I know that Joe Smith is good people. People are like that as well. You'd be surprised. There's a reason why a lot of business transactions happen on the golf court. It's not necessarily that you need to sign up for a golf membership or anything like that. It's the fact that people would have already established a relationship with those persons by seeing them consistently at the golf course, playing golf with them talking shop with them running jokes, them having a little banter. so that they can now feel comfortable in going into business transactions with them because they know them. It works the same way with sororities. Like if I know that you and I were in the same sorority, or you and I went on the same hall when we were in university, I'm going to support you because I know say, well, at the end of the day, for you to end up on that hall, even if we weren't on the hall at the same time, or we weren't in the same sorority at the same time, I can imagine the kind of person that you would be. So I would trust you on that basis to do any form of business. And these simple things allow conversations to eventually turn into connections that eventually lead to lasting relationships. So today I want you to think about the relationships that you have with others. I want you to be purposeful, and I want you to start with having powerful conversations. The book that I mentioned is, let me see if I can. Here we go. Fierce Conversations. Yes. And it is well used. It's fine. I read my books, people. It's okay. It's by Susan Scott. It's a really powerful book. And I started reading it mid last year. Yeah, mid last year. I read 5 pages a day. And I finished it. And it's a really powerful book. I would encourage any entrepreneur, if you're having challenges with having fierce conversations with people, definitely read this book. Like, it actually has useful exercises. So if you don't know how to step by step have a conversation with someone about a difficult matter, whether it's your marriage, whether it's your business, whether it's your child, friend, anything like that, this book really goes in depth. Like, Susan Scott did a fabulous job with this book. I'd love to speak with her one day. Like, she was amazing in this book. She has so much useful insight in this book that I think that anybody would be able to get value from it. And she owns a company called Fierce. So you can check her out, Google Fierce Conversations whenever you get a chance. And I think you'll get a lot of value from it. However, I hope that my little rant here added some value to you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, let me know. And remember to never stop dreaming. I'm Marcia Ben from Think Premium JA. Take care. Bye-bye.